make a culture of failure is okay.
Yeah.
Failure is learning, testing, iterating, moving. And then when you find something that works, that is the Autobahn, like Bible in a Year, that gets over 100 million downloads, and Khloe Kardashian is sharing it every week. And, don't rest on your laurels.
Yeah.
Continue to test, iterate, move. Keep that habit of continuing to beat yourself the time.
Welcome to Cause and Effect, a podcast brought to you by the Dunham Podcast Network.
Here, we will provide a fresh voice that breaks down the most recent leadership lessons, fundraising trends, and the ups and downs within the nonprofit industry.
And our goal? Increasing your effectiveness for more impact.
Hey, welcome to this episode of the Cause and Effect Podcast. I'm Trent Dunham, President and CEO of Dunham+Company, and today we're going to talk with Matt Potter from pray.com. Matt, thank you for joining us on the Cause and Effect Podcast.
Thanks for having me here. Honored and blessed and excited.
I have known Matt, we got to be close to a decade.
We're going on 8 years right now.
8 years.
Yeah.
I knew it was in the range, and I can't wait for the moment I can say it's been a decade.
Me too.
But it's probably worth helping our listeners and viewers understand a bit of our background because it informs where you are now, what you're doing, and your story is quite compelling, even up to the point where you find yourself serving and leading today, and we'll get to that in a minute. But Matt is one of the co-founders of pray.com, and pray.com has been a significant partner of Dunham's since, can we say before it was born, or like as it was, like close thereafter, or how do we phrase that?
We can say since inception.
Okay.
It's good.
That's good. We were quickly introduced by a mutual friend, and it was it's one of those things you've had this before where you meet someone, you're like, we're supposed to do life together going forward, and you don't know why or how that's going to manifest itself or what it's going to look like, but that's certainly part of our story. So as we dive into some, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, but before we get into that, I think it'd be really helpful for our viewers and listeners just to hear a bit of your story. So what was the roadmap that God took you through, that you traversed and find yourself today as a co-founder of pray.com and leading the charge there? Like, give us that run up.
So the word that comes to mind is providence. Mm-hmm. And there's just been an amazing amount of providence in my life. Mm-hmm. And for me, it all started with a 15-year-old girl who was walking to an abortion clinic. And on her way there, she saw a church and decided to stop in and talk to the pastor of that church before she made the biggest decision she was making in her life up to that point. Mm. And when she talked to the pastor was kind of a new pastor. And so he called his friend who had a church plant in Los Angeles and said, hey, what do I tell this 15-year-old girl that walked into my church? And the pastor said, it's providence that you called me today. Mm. I've been counseling this married couple who's been trying to have children for 10 years and couldn't. Why don't you ask that girl if she'd be willing to give her baby up for adoption? So I was the baby the girl brought into the church, and I got adopted because of these two pastors that were friends. Mm. And my adopted dad became the head elder of this little 20-person church, and now it's one of the largest churches in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. They run about 15,000 people a weekend.
Wow.
And so I grew up in church with my pastor being like a second dad to me, his daughter being my best friend, and grew up in the San Fernando Valley. Mm. Well, my sophomore year of high school, again, providence, my friend comes to me and says, hey, I'm going up to Silicon Valley. I'm going to this new startup called Pixar. You want to come with me? And I say, yeah, let's go. And so we went, and I got the really unique opportunity to meet Steve Jobs. Mm. And a lot of people have different views on Steve Jobs, but most people don't know that Steve Jobs is also adopted. Mm. And so when I saw this adopted guy running Pixar and Apple, it really inspired me to get into tech. Mm. And so my senior year of college, when I saw Steve Jobs launch the App Store, I said, that's what I got to do. So I dropped out of college. I don't recommend that for everyone, but I dropped out of college and started a company called Homestack, a startup. And over the course of 10 years, we built over 10,000 apps in the app stores for all the major real estate companies in the United States. So it was a super fun journey. Startups are like the most fun thing you never want to do again because you're working 100 hours a week, right?
Yeah.
And you're just going all out to make something work, to be the spark that ignites, that company.
Yeah.
And so we were successful after, 10 years of doing that. And I was just coming to work every day feeling like I lost my purpose. Like I was super happy helping people find their dream homes through all of these real estate companies and helping these real estate companies with technology. But every day after we had reached our goals, I just felt empty and I wanted to help and give back. So I called my pastor. I asked him how I could help and give back. And he said, Matt, why don't you be a campus pastor? And I just thought to myself, I was like, that sounds terrifying and terrible because I'm an introverted tech entrepreneur who didn't go to seminary. Like, I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to talk on stage or anything like that. And he just said, Matt, pray about it. And so I did. And the very next day, providentially, I'm at a coffee shop in my hometown at like 3 p.m., which means you have to kind of be addicted to coffee to drink coffee at 3 p.m. And my buddy Steve walks through the door, Steve Gattina. And he says, Matt, I just became a Christian. My business partner died in a plane crash, and I want to build the digital destination for Christians online. And I say, Steve, I built apps in the App Store, and you're like the media content guy. Steve was running like the world's largest aerial production company. They would film movies from helicopters, planes, and jets. They would do like surveillance for FBI, CIA, Homeland Security, a bunch of different organizations. And then they would do air medical transport as a way to help and give back to the community. And unfortunately, they were filming a movie with Tom Cruise called American Made. And in the filming of the movie, Steve's business partner died.
Wow.
And he became a Christian because of a Navy SEAL that shared him a sermon from a pastor in Texas.
Wow.
And Steve wanted to build the digital destination for Christians. And I said, Steve, you've been a Christian for like 5 minutes, but this is providence. And that was like the third or fourth providential moment in my life where I knew God was saying, you better jump in with both feet. And so I did. And I stepped down as CEO of my company that day and jumped in with Steve and our other co-founders, Mike Lynn and Ryan Beck, to start Pray.com.
That's amazing.
And that was July 7th, 2016.
July 7, 2016. It's amazing. One of the things that I think is a lesson for us as organizational leaders is rapid, quick obedience. So what you did is that muscle had been trained because you had done it before. You'd like seen a thing and you had been blessed as a result of obedience. And therefore, when you saw it again, like, oh, that's God doing the thing again. I'm going to make sure I run after it.
That's right.
That's a great leadership lesson is delayed obedience is still disobedience, right?
Yeah, totally.
So it's like in the moment when you see it, can you recognize what the Holy Spirit's doing and be obedient? Right. And as a leader, that can be exhilarating, it can be challenging, it can be confusing sometimes, but just learning that I think is such a valuable trait to have in your relationship with Jesus. So talk a bit about, you connect with Steve, the other founders, you guys start Pray.com. It started in 2016.
Yep.
And the initial vision for it, or at least the first tangible pieces of it were nothing like it is today.
No.
Nothing.
No.
But with the digital destination for Bible content, for Christian content, being the vision, you guys quickly got to what is the core focus of the organization today. And I think part of what I want this conversation to focus on for the benefit of the listeners is the decisions we make, the willingness we are to test, measure, and change things as leaders, as we lead organizations, whether that's ministry, nonprofit organizations. Like, there is a rigor in that you guys have really pushed the envelope and ended up and we'll talk about some of the things cool things now that are happening, but that didn't happen overnight.
No.
There's things that happen along the way that felt you could define it as defeat or setback or things like that, but never lost sight of the mission, the vision of what God had called into existence here. So I think the first lesson that I wanted to point out that Matt mentioned is just rapid obedience. Like you use the term providential, but you had the discernment to recognize that as providential, right?
Yeah.
Obviously not when you were a baby getting adopted, but you can look back on that and say someone was obedient in that moment right away.
That's right.
My biological mother was obedient in that moment right away. And as a result, here I am.
Yep.
So you can trace that as a part of your story that is an example to others of if God's moving and says go, go. And if if he doesn't say go, don't go yet. But so I think that's lesson number one. Number two is I'd love to talk more from your perspective about just the early part of Pray.com when you guys are just wrestling with what actually is going to bring the greatest value to the people who engage with our product. And I'd love for you just to talk about what did you test that didn't work? Or what did you test and you were like, oh, that's not the right route? I think what I want our listeners and viewers to understand is the value in testing, but not always. The test doesn't always result in the thing. Yeah. Like there's going to be cul-de-sacs. Like talk about a cul-de-sac.
Yeah. Easy to talk about. Because, fail fast, right?
It's good.
Fail fast. Yeah. And the other thing that we say at Pray.com that my team is sick of hearing me say, in God we trust, all others bring data. Mm-hmm. So I don't want anecdotes. Yeah. Bring me the data. Yeah. And data helps you test, iterate, fail fast. Yeah. Right. And so one of the things that we did in the very beginning of Pray.com, we interviewed a bunch of people who would be our potential users of Pray.com. Mm-hmm. And we did a very specific interview process that I highly recommend. It's called the mom test. You can find it online. You can Google it. You can find the mom test. But the mom test, the premise of the mom test is your mom will always tell you you're doing a great job. It's awesome, right? Yeah. So that's why it's called the mom test, because it takes you through a series of questions to really get to what people want, right? So then I'll give you another quote from Henry Ford, right? If I asked people what they wanted, they would say faster horses, right? And so you have to balance these two perspectives. So we mom tested like thousands of people, and everybody said, we want a prayer wall. We want to be able to post prayer requests. We want people to pray for us, all of this great stuff, which is great. So we went and did some interviews. We got some data back, and then so mom test, think mom test, right? We got data back. So we built a prayer wall, right? Mm-hmm. We built prayer walls for all these different organizations. People can post prayers. They can post prayer requests. People can comment on those prayer requests. People can say when they're answered or not, right? Well, social media has very specific metrics on people who just look, voyeurs, people who comment, create content, people who like, so they engage. And we were not able to get the carrying capacity to have a healthy social network. It was, people would dominate the prayer wall. Mm-hmm. So
super user.
Yep, that's right. So think about in your groups, right? There's always like two people who
always have
a prayer request, right? Which is great.
Yeah,
no problem.
Great. It is.
But then you have like 100 people that don't speak up.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with our prayer walls. But from Henry Ford's perspective, right? If I asked people what they want, they would say faster horses. What we understood and what we gathered in the data from that is the most successful communities that were on the app had a leader. And the leader would continue to post incredible devotional content all the time. And those were the ones that flourished. And we couldn't recreate that multiple times across churches or denominations or media ministries, different things. But we could provide people with incredible guided prayers, incredible devotional content, which is what people were sharing in the most healthiest, active communities. And so, again, we gathered the data from the communities and we said, hey, what's working? What's the best? And then now we tested our daily devotionals and daily prayers. And we started doing that. And that took off. Like, people shared it like crazy. Engagement rates were over 100%, which means they'd come back and listen to more. And so, but nobody told us that that's what they wanted. Right.
Yeah.
So they didn't say, they didn't say, I want a car.
Right.
But we looked at the data and we figured out they want a car. Yeah. Right. From Henry Ford's
That's
perspective.
super helpful. I love it could have very much, I think if you just looked at it at a surface level, at face value, you could have said, we tried the prayer wall thing, we failed.
Yeah.
And gotten discouraged. But really, I mean, a part of it is your entrepreneurial background and Steve's, and like the combination of your collective experience in these things too, that said, that's not failure, that's a reroute. And I think it's good for, if you're watching or listening to this podcast, to just maybe internalize that a bit as you're testing things that maybe are new programmatic aspects of your ministry, or you're testing new types of content or some kind of new initiative. If it doesn't work, it doesn't mean you failed. What it means is, like, are you then saying why? To your point, are you looking at the data in a different way to say, like, actually what they really want is this, or maybe that didn't work here, but it's going to work better here, or whatever it might be.
It's only failure if you didn't learn anything.
That's good, dude. That's a great quote.
Right?
Yeah. What are you learning?
Correct.
What are you always learning and implementing, and not just leaving that learning on the shelf to say, oh, we learned that thing, but then how is that driving what you do next?
That's right.
So you guys kind of abandoned that strategy in large part and really started focusing on content. Over the years, the variety of content that you guys have created, the collaborative nature in which you've approached that content development with, really probably sets you apart from a lot of other distribution platforms. And I think it's important to make that distinction early on, is that there are other platforms that distribute content.
Yes.
And those can be traditional, TV, radio, whatever. They can be new, other apps, different digital platforms, social whatever. There are platforms that distribute content. And certainly one of the functions of pray.com is distributing content.
Correct.
But it is not the sole thing that pray.com delivers. They're not just a delivery mechanism, is a better way to say it.
Correct.
And I think that's where the differentiators, that's not the only differentiator, but it is a more obvious one, is that your team is actually creating compelling content too. And, we could go through a list of different examples of that. I think the easiest one is just the Bible in a Year podcast. Yeah. That actually you guys had an idea. I remember sitting in the car with my son and you guys on speakerphone. And I remember you guys saying, hey, we have this idea. We want to do this cinematic audio podcast, Bible in a Year. Who should we do it with? I was like, it needs to be Jack Graham. It's got to be Jack Graham.
Yeah.
And here we are. And we knew it was going to be a lot of work.
Yeah.
For him, for the team creating our team helped write some of the application content for Pastor Graham, like to him, for him to use as he was making some of out of his content. And it was a collective team effort to get this thing moving. His team lifted heavy weights in getting him in the studio and all the kind of thing. And you guys were creating the cinematic aspect of that content with really high quality, engaging content, for lack of a better term. And when it all stitched together, and really it was like 3 or 4 parties working together on one product. Yeah. When it came together, it was like it worked. And now it was a test. Yeah. Just like the prayer wall test, it was still a test. We didn't know if it would succeed. We didn't know if it would engage in there's a billion Bible reading plans all over the place in a year. There's lots of other things that exist, but it hit. And it's another example, I think, of just like, sometimes you're going to hit the cul-de-sac and sometimes it's the highway. Like, it's the expressway, you're on the Autobahn. And I think part of what I learned in observing you guys through that process too is that neither the cul-de-sac nor the Autobahn change the way in which you approach what you do. Yeah. very consistent. And so it's not like we're frustrated and down in the dumps and discouraged and disillusioned because of this quote unquote perceived failure. And we're also not reading our own press clippings and getting arrogant and riding, high on the horse and taking our time and coasting.
Yeah.
When we have something great happen. We're still approaching business the same way, regardless of whether it's a success or a perceived failure. We're still wanting to test and change and like, that's great. We're going to build on that. What do we do next? 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 And I think that's part of the mentality that I want to help you as a listener take away from what Matt and his team have really been committed to is no matter what, if it is a cul-de-sac or it is the Autobahn, are you saying what's next? What's next? What am I learning from that? What am I learning from that? What's another way that we can continue to grow and learn and be better? Would you echo that? Would there be something you would add to that or perspective that you have kind of going through both types of success and perceived failure?
Yeah, I would say something similar to what you said. It's like never rest on your laurels, right? We're doing hundreds of tests a month.
Yeah.
I mean, and the more that you can get into the phase of testing, iterating, moving, testing, iterating, moving, like, and your team, right? Your team testing, iterating, moving. Because so much of the time, the team is afraid to fail. They don't want to be let go, fired, right, or, whatever it is. And so something that Steve and I did one day really helped get the team to test, iterate, move. And it was, we went in and we wrote on a whiteboard our 2 biggest failures. And then we signed our name next to it. And these were big things.
Really?
Yeah. Like big failures. And at the end of the day, everyone had written up things that they failed. And so I would say that is really revealing and uncovering, because most of the things we didn't know, because people hide it and they keep it a secret. And that keeps you from moving faster to the Autobahn, to the spaceship, right?
There you go.
And so make a culture of failure is okay. Failure is learning, testing, iterating, moving. And then when you find something that works, that is the Autobahn, like Bible in a Year, that gets over 100 million downloads and Khloe Kardashian is sharing it every week. And, don't rest on your laurels. Continue to test, iterate, move. Keep that habit of continuing to beat yourself the time.
That's good. And I think it's born out of a desire to maximize the stewardship of the gifts God's given you, the resources he's put in your hands, the team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so as that has expanded, as I mentioned, we could literally sit here for an hour and a half and go through all the different types of content that you guys have helped create and partner, collaborate with others on, and each of those reaching a different kind of subset of people and all that stuff. But you're also very committed to technology. It has to be a backbone to what you're doing. So it can't just be distributed on some random platform and it's breaking down or it's not collecting. We don't understand how the audience engages or what they're wanting, or so to your point on testing and all that kind of stuff. You guys developed a thing called Praise Studio, and just talk about why. Like, answer the question of why did you develop Praise Studio? What purpose does it serve?
So as we were building that content habit, right, and testing and iterating, we developed a data competence. And we were thinking one day, we were like, hey, like, we're measuring all of these things for ourselves, for content to test and iterate, move, and do better. Wouldn't all the media ministries want that level of data competency? In God we trust, all others bring data at their ministries. Yes. Okay. Why don't we make some of the tools that we use internally for all of the media ministries, churches, pastors out there? And so that's really where like Praise Studio got birthed out of, is let's show incredible data dashboards. And now it's not even, do you remember the days of, generate report and it would send an email to you with a PDF or right? Like all these tools now, our AI dashboards bring all of the insights and analytics to you as if you had a full-time analyst, data analyst on your staff.
Yeah.
Like it, not only is it, here's the dashboard, and now AI is automatically telling you all the things that you should be looking at on the dashboard and what things should be concerning or not, and what things you're doing good at and not, and how to change it.
Yeah.
So that's really where Pray Studio got birthed out of. And then we started developing all these AI tools for content that we're using, translating content, transcribing content, clipping content, distributing content on other platforms. And so all of those are up and running now, where one person ministry can create content, upload it, make it available in multiple languages, post it everywhere, and be able to get all of the analytics and insights back to them to do better every single day.
Yeah. It's awesome.
So it's just amplifying current teams.
It helps make the content creators more precise in what they're doing, aware of what's resonating,
That's right.
understand who they're reaching, speak more clearly to a targeted audience, all that kind of stuff, which really in a lot of cases just hasn't been something they've, like in a church, you can measure response anecdotally on a Sunday morning sermon, but beyond that, it's really hard to measure. And so you guys have provided a lot of that insight.
It's really important though it's really important to tie everything back to the why and the mission.
Good.
Right?
Yep.
Why are we doing this? Why are we building these tools? Why do we want to engage the audience? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's fulfill the Great Commission.
Yeah.
Reach everybody on planet Earth with the gospel.
That's good.
Right? And so sometimes you have to remind yourself, okay, why are we building this technology? What mission is it solving? What are we struggling with that we need help with? And how do we scale with technology?
What is just maybe a kind of one of our final questions, like leading Pray.com now is obviously very different than leading Pray.com in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about one or two of the main things now that's different. Like how are you leading differently in this season versus that season? So
the majority of organizations get capped at certain sizes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's 5 people, 10 people, but really most of the reports are about revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Like 95% of small businesses get capped at $3 million or nonprofits, $3 million in donations. So really when you're starting out, it's because of a skill of the founder or founders, and you're running on that skill.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning. And now it's, can the leadership and the founders develop system, process, and other leaders? Mm-hmm. And can you implement that process? And so that's what's changed. It's, can you develop your skill into process and systems for your team and grow leaders that build teams for you?
Yeah, that's good.
And that's what's changed a lot. I focus a lot on the team now and not developing my own skill.
Yeah, that's good.
And so that's what changes over time.
That's good.
And you have to, again, just like with your product, your company, your nonprofit, you have to constantly be testing and iterating on yourself,
that's
right?
Good.
Because you have this skill. That's what you built it on.
That's really good.
But you got to develop it over time.
It's different. Like you rolling up your sleeves, doing the work in a different way than at the beginning than you do now. And leading teams is very different. Leading people is very different. So it's a good charge just to rethink, like, and if you're capped somewhere, if your ceiling, you hit your ceiling, like, why? Are you holding it back as a leader?
Yeah.
Are you involving other people in that process and decision? What is one thing that Pray.com's excited about for the future? Like, what's next on the horizon?
So we talk to all of our customers all the time. That is very, very important to us, customer feedback. Like all of the media ministries, pastors, churches, we talk to them all the time. And everyone was saying something similar. Apple and Google have removed the ability to access the customers and acquire those customers and donors and, people listening to our programs and different things. And so we built out a new product called SuperFunnel, which enables ministries to use all of our incredible AI tools and data to be able to acquire new donors. And it is something that is revolutionary. Out of everything we've launched at Pray.com, I've never seen something grow as fast as this. And it has been really, really cool to see the impact, the case studies that we've built. And again, that all stems from what we started about in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Do not rest on your laurels. Keep testing, keep iterating, keep moving.
And the reality is those donations help fuel additional content creation, additional distribution opportunities.
That's right.
And growth for the gospel.
That's right.
Which is what you guys are about at the core. So
absolutely.
Oh, Matt, I appreciate you guys, pray.com. And, if you're watching this or listening, you probably have seen a different background. And that is because we're at our ministry summit. You guys have been a good partner with us in that and helping make that possible. So we're grateful and looking forward to the days ahead with you and such a great partner in life and in ministry and in work. So thank you, man.
Same here, and can't wait to say it's been a decade, Trent.
That's right. That's good. Well, thank you for joining us on today's episode of Cause and Effect. Join us again next time.
And thanks for listening to the Cause and Effect Podcast, a resource developed by Dunham+Company.
We'll be back in 2 weeks with a new episode. In the meantime, do us a favor. If you like this content, subscribe, share us with a friend, leave us a review on your podcast provider, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Dunham+Company to help us spread the word.
Thanks again, and join us next time as we work together towards increased effectiveness for more impact.